We're going in 3, 2, 1.
Yo, what is up? What is up, everyone? Tay here. And I gotta say, I have been very eager to make this video because the other day, as I was working on the video I just released, these new leaks and new reports regarding Avengers Doomsday and the Fantastic Four started coming out, and I really wanted to talk about them, but I had to finish the video I was working on. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about today, and I'm gonna try to keep it a bit on the shorter side. But like I just said, the other day, and really over just like the past 2 weeks, there have been a whole bunch of different Doomsday reports and set leaks that have dropped. And when you start to take these different set leaks and updates that have come out, especially these newer ones, and you start kind of piecing them together with the ones we've gotten over the past few months, they reveal some extremely huge plot details for what's going to happen in the movie. You know, everything just starts to fit together. And one of the things that got me excited about these updates is that it reveals that Avengers Doomsday will be more multiversal than we were previously led to believe, and major parts of the film will occur in other universes and realms besides just the MCU 616 universe. So yeah, we're going to dig into all of that and try to start to piece together these different individual leaks and updates into how all of this will fit together in the movie. Now, first, before we get into it, if you did miss my last video where I talked all about Phase 6 and Marvel Studios' plans for Doctor Strange 3 and other potential things in the works like Thor 5 and the Battleworld Hulk movie, you should definitely check that out. It is linked in the description down below. And then also, there will not be a Super Thanks segment at the end of today's video because I just want to let them build up a little bit. So yeah, just to those who did leave Super Thanks, I haven't forgotten about you. And then to those of you watching, if you would like to be a part of the conversation in these videos, remember that you can leave a super thanks with a question or a comment on this video, and I will also respond to those in the next video. Alright, so now that Avengers Doomsday has officially started filming, we are starting to get a lot of new filming updates that, like I said, are beginning to paint a clearer picture of what we can expect from the movie. And one of the things that I've been very stoked to see from these different updates is that the Russo brothers look to be taking a very practical approach while filming this movie, because we see that they are building a lot of set pieces and doing a lot of scenes outdoors on location. And just that alone makes me feel very positive about the approach that they are taking with these movies, that they are going practical as much as they can and filming outdoors on location, building these big sets, all that stuff, as opposed to just filming the entire movie on a big green screen soundstage. And the main filming location for Avengers Doomsday is Pinewood Studios, UK. And this is where the majority of these leaked set videos have been coming from, where we've seen this large outdoor courtyard set. However, a bunch of the cast, including Anthony Mackie, Letitia Wright, and a bunch of others, are also currently filming scenes on location in Bahrain in the Middle East. And then the movie crews are also currently working on constructing some big outdoor set designs to be filmed at Great Windsor Park in the UK. But another place where we got some big MCU leaks from recently was Disney's 2025 merchandise conference that revealed some big details for projects like Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday. And according to some of the leaks that came from this conference, some of the earliest scenes that we will see in Avengers Doomsday will take place in Wakanda, and that the Russo brothers are currently preparing to film a huge battle scene with the X-Men and several Avengers that will include Sentinels that are controlled by Doctor Doom. And based on what was released in these leaks, some of the characters that will be involved in this X-Men scene will include, of course, the X-Men, along with Gambit and Deadpool, as well as Sue Storm and Shang-Chi. Now, those are just the characters that were mentioned that this person knows about, but I'm assuming there are likely going to be a bunch of other characters that will also be involved in this scene as well. For instance, I'm assuming with Sue Storm being in this scene that Reed Richards will also be present because in a recent interview with Alan Cumming, he accidentally revealed that he was preparing for a scene where Nightcrawler would battle Reed Richards. And then also, if Deadpool and Gambit are in this scene, then it also seems like there's a decent chance that Wolverine will be present in this scene as well. But one of the other characters that's important to note that will also likely be involved in this big outdoor X-Men battle scene is Carol Danvers. Because according to these new set updates, one of the big sets that is currently being built at Windsor Park is for Captain Marvel's spaceship. Now, I'm not sure if this is the Hoopty, the ship we saw in the Marvels, or if this will be a new ship altogether, but that's not really the point. The point is that Captain Marvel's ship being present at this particular filming location actually reveals a huge plot detail for the movie. Because right now, we know that all of the big sets that are currently being constructed in the UK all look like they are going to be a part of this same X-Men battle scene that will occur at the X-Mansion of the universe that we saw at the end of the Marvels. And in one of my other recent videos from about a month ago, I talked about some of the leaks that we had heard regarding Sam's Avengers and what Carol Danvers' subplot would be in the movie. And according to some other recent leaks, Carol will be one of the members of Sam's Avengers team along with Torres, Bruce Banner, Shang-Chi, and Wong, and that since the events of the Marvels, Carol has been working with Bruce and Wong to research the powers of her quantum band so that they can use the quantum band to open a portal to rescue Monica from the universe that she got stuck in, the universe from the end of the Marvels. And that specific subplot that we heard about last month lines up perfectly with what we are now hearing from these new set leaks. Because with the Russo brothers filming on location at Great Windsor Park, I'm assuming that this will be the exterior of the X-Mansion for the Multiversal X-Men team we will see in Avengers Doomsday. So if Captain Marvel's spaceship is going to be a part of this big set piece at Great Windsor Park for this giant battle occurring at the X-Mansion, then this would seem to confirm that Carol, Wong, and Bruce will in fact figure out how to use the quantum band to locate Monica, and that they will use it to open a portal to this X-Men universe so that they can rescue Monica and bring her home. And it sounds like what will happen in the movie is that because the X-Men and the Avengers don't know who each other are, that when the Avengers arrive to rescue Monica, that this will end up turning into a big battle between the two groups because both sides will assume that the others are villains. And the other thing that was recently reported on that ties into this is that in Avengers Doomsday, that Doctor Doom will use the Avengers and the Fantastic Four to take on the X-Men. And this kind of reminds me of similar things we've seen in the comics, where villains like Kang and Immortus would try to pit the Avengers against mutants or the X-Men so that he wouldn't have to worry about them, because there are many mutants that are so powerful that they definitely represent huge threats. And, this is actually something I theorized on in a video not too long ago, where I said that I think that Doctor Doom will likely try to manipulate the conflict between the X-Men and the Avengers so that the two groups will be too busy battling each other to worry about Doctor Doom. So that could perhaps explain the other details we heard in these new leaks that said in this battle sequence there would also be Sentinels who were controlled by Doctor Doom. And that definitely seems like something we could see, because in some of the recent set videos that have come out for the courtyard scene at Pinewood, UK, we see what appears to be, arms and legs and big pieces of destroyed Sentinels that are strewn throughout the courtyard. Now, we don't know for sure if Doom is also going to be present during this big battle at the X-Mansion, but one of the other things we've heard reported recently is that the Russo brothers recently filmed a battle sequence between Doctor Doom and Magneto. So if that's true, then we still don't know for sure if that will be a part of this scene or a separate scene, but either way, it does sound like Doom is the one who is pulling the strings behind the scenes to help egg on this conflict between the Avengers and the X-Men. And even though this sounds like it is going to be a huge action sequence, I'm assuming that this will likely be a scene that will occur somewhere around the middle of the movie, probably in the second act. Because according to the big plot leaks that dropped about a month ago, the final battle of the movie is actually going to converge at the TVA as Doctor Doom makes his way to usurp Loki on the throne at the end of time. But all of these new leaks and set updates we've heard regarding this big sequence at the X-Mansion is a really big deal, because based on just these details about this scene, we can start to piece together a lot of different elements for how the movie could play out. Because something we heard a lot in many of the earlier reports about Avengers 5 was that it was going to have a lot of multiversal elements to it, but that it would still be a pretty grounded movie that would mostly take place on Earth of the MCU 616 universe. But based on everything that started to come out in the past 6 weeks or so since the filming process has started to take place, it sounds like that is not going to be the case at all, and that a lot of the movie actually won't take place in the 616 universe. Which to me is great because, this is the multiverse saga. So I want to see heroes on missions out into the multiverse. I want to see multiversal adventures similar to stuff that we saw in Hickman's Incursion saga. And one of the other things that's revealing about these leaks is that, like I mentioned, it sounds like the Fantastic Four, or at the very least Reed and Sue, will also be involved in this X-Mansion battle sequence, and from the sounds of it, they will be aligned with the Avengers against the X-Men. And based on the post-credit scene of the Thunderbolts, we already know that the Fantastic Four will have a multi-dimensional ship that is capable of traveling the multiverse. That's how they'll get to the 616 universe. But if the Fantastic Four came to the X-Men universe with Captain Marvel on her ship, you might be wondering why they would need the Quantum Band or Captain Marvel's ship in the first place. Why couldn't they just take the Fantastic Four's ship? Well, my assumption on that is that they didn't just need the Quantum Band to open a portal to another universe in the multiverse, but that they more importantly needed the Quantum Band to find the right universe. Because if we go back to what happened at the end of the Marvels when Monica disappeared, Carol had no way of knowing which universe in the infinite multiverse Monica disappeared to. She just knew it wasn't this universe. So I'm assuming that the only way for Carol and Wong and Bruce to locate Monica in the vastness of the multiverse is to use the Quantum Band so that they can hopefully open the doorway back to that same universe it opened to the last time. And according to some of the leaks that I discussed last month, they said that it could actually be Carol and her experimentation with the Quantum Band that could somehow be responsible for the big incursion event that we will see in the movie. And again, that lines up with everything we are hearing in this new batch of leaks about this battle sequence. So I'm thinking what we might see happen is that when the Avengers and the Fantastic Four go to this X-Men universe to rescue Monica, that this could ultimately be what ends up causing the incursion, and that after this battle is over, that Monica will probably get involved and make both sides see that they are not enemies, and that in the end, the X-Men will ultimately end up siding with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers to try and save the multiverse from the incursions and Doctor Doom. And these leaks about this big battle sequence at the X-Mansion weren't the only huge leaks to come out in the past few days. Because just a couple of days ago, Marvel Studios reportedly held a surprise early screening for Fantastic Four First Steps for a small audience in LA. And of course, when you have secret screenings, there are people who can't keep their mouths shut, and some leaks dripped out online about the post-credit scene that was shown. And what these leaks said is that in one of the post-credit scenes, we see Sue Storm reading a bedtime story to a young Franklin Richards. And that after she reads the bedtime story, she gets up and leaves the room for a moment, and that when she returns, she finds Doctor Doom in his full suit and mask sitting there next to Franklin. Now, it's important to note that if this leak is true, that it's still possible that this scene could end up being changed or swapped out with a different scene by the time the movie comes out, especially considering the fact that it leaked online. because it wouldn't be the first time that Marvel Studios changed a post-credit scene at the last minute because details of it leaked online. But either way, even if the scene does change, just the fact that this is reportedly what they are going for reveals huge plot details for both the Fantastic Four First Steps and Avengers Doomsday. Because what we've heard regarding the Fantastic Four movie is that Franklin Richards will have the same reality warping powers in the MCU as he does in the comics. And what this means is that Franklin will have the ability to literally construct new universes. And what we've heard regarding Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars is that Franklin Richards will have a very important role in those films, and that he will end up being aged up by a few years and recast with an older actor, and that he will also play a key part in Doctor Doom's overall plans. And what I've speculated on is that in the upcoming Avengers movies, what we are going to see happen is that Doctor Doom could end up taking Franklin Richards and trying to raise him as his own son, similar to what we saw in the Secret Wars comic, but that Doom's true intention behind doing this would be so that he can use Franklin's reality warping powers to construct a new universe for him to rule over after he's usurped Loki and taken over the multiverse. Because not only would this make sense for the story that the Russo brothers will be telling with Avengers Doomsday, but that it's also the perfect way for them to pull the Fantastic Four into the upcoming Avengers movies in a way that makes sense and in a way that makes their rivalry with Doctor Doom extremely personal. Because now, not only would the Fantastic Four be battling against Doom to save the multiverse, but more importantly, they would be battling against Doom to get their son back. So yeah, what we could end up seeing is that Franklin could end up taking on a similar role to what the Beyonders and Molecule Man had in the comics, where he could be being used by Doctor Doom for Doom to kind of siphon off powers from and help him be this god. And as I've talked about before, I think Wanda could possibly be involved in that as well. And based off of this new leak about the Fantastic Four post-credits, it sounds like this theory that I talked about is exactly what's going to happen. That the Fantastic Four movie is going to end with Franklin being taken by Doom, and that this will set up how the Fantastic Four will be involved in the events of Doomsday and Secret Wars, and it will also set up a very personal conflict between Doom and Reed Richards that will likely be very similar to their personal conflict in the 2015 Secret Wars comic. Because remember, in that story, in the 2015 Secret Wars story, after Doom created Battleworld, he stole Reed's entire family and made them into his family. And I think this is going to be a little bit similar to what they'll do in the Secret Wars movie, but instead of Doom stealing Sue and Reed's entire family, it will instead just be Franklin, and that Wanda will probably end up taking on the role that Sue had in the comic as Doom's romantic partner. Because remember that we saw that leaked Avengers Secret Wars concept art that dropped online a few months ago, and that one of the images in that batch was titled Royal Court, where we see Doom on a medieval throne with Reed Richards on his knees before him, and standing to his right is Doctor Strange, and then standing to his left is a woman and a kid. And it seems extremely likely that the young one in this art is meant to be Franklin Richards, and as I've talked about before, I think that the woman is likely meant to be Wanda Maximoff. And again, as I said when I talked about this art a few months ago, this is just concept art, so it's not confirmation of anything, but at the same time, based on everything we are hearing, it does look like this is all coming together for this to be where things are headed for the Secret Wars movie. So yeah, that's the down low on the new leaks and set updates and everything that's come out over the past few days. But I thought that this was all important stuff to talk about because I think these are definitely the most important leaks and updates that we've gotten so far regarding Avengers Doomsday, because now we are starting to see how what's being filmed ties into different stuff we've heard, and the puzzle pieces are starting to fit together more and more, and we are starting to get a better idea at what the Russo brothers are cooking up. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think about these new leaks and what your theories are based on everything we know so far. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and share if you did, especially share the video. That helps so much. And of course, if you are new here and a big nerd who enjoys detailed videos about Marvel and the MCU, you should definitely subscribe because that is what we talk about. And remember to check out my last video on Doctor Strange 3 and Thor 5 and Battleworld Hulk if you missed it. And then lastly, if you want to get directly involved with the conversation in these videos, you can leave a super thanks with a question or a comment, and I will read and respond to those in the next video. And again, to those of you who left super thanks in the last video, didn't forget about you. We'll get to those in the next one as well. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will be back soon with the next one.